Women are not always confident in money matters, but the world needs women with assets. Stay tuned because today you will discover robust investment planning because statistically, women are better investors than men. Hi there, I'm Dr. Krista Burns, Director of Programming for the Tampa Bay Women's Professional Network. Welcome to the Empowerment Blueprint, a virtual summit for women in business, providing you with implementable strategies to take your career to the next level. I'm honored to introduce our next guest speaker. Stacy Miller is the founder and CEO of Bayview Financial Planning and a certified financial planner professional. She's a speaker and writer and has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Her Money, and many other media outlets. She finds fulfillment in empowering women to invest in their own future financial security through the tides of life. She's a member of the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, the Financial Planning Association, and the XY Planning Network. She has a master's in business finance from Auburn University. Today, she'll be sharing with us making an impact on your future financial security. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us today as a presenter on the Empowerment Blueprint, a virtual summit for women in business. Please take it away.
Krista, thank you so much for having me. Normally, I begin the presentation with the question, who wants to be a millionaire? And I know you can't answer that question back to me in a way that I can hear the answer, but I'm going to assume that everybody is answering yes, everybody wants to be a millionaire. So the follow-on question is, do you know how to get there? Do you know what are the steps to achieve that? So I hope that in this short presentation, I will be able to provide some tools for you to be able to achieve that goal and many others, and to find your future financial security and make an impact while doing it. So my screen's not clicking. There we go. We have a responsibility to our future selves to understand our own future financial security, and that's really important, and that's why you're here. Because as Krista mentioned earlier, a woman with assets is an asset that the world needs. My professional colleague, Bonnie Sewell, this is her quote, and I think it's just very powerful in the way that it shares why we're here today and why we're sharing this information. So here's our agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about money mindset, because I think that's really the underlying basis that we need to begin this journey. We're going to talk about the gender wage gap, the gender wealth gap, some myths that we're going to dispel. Then we're going to talk about retirement planning, because that's really important. There's so many opportunities there. Investing specifically, because that's something that I think is a little bit intimidating. We're going to talk very briefly about some other financial planning topics. And then I'm going to end today's presentation with how you can find help, because unfortunately, the financial services industry does not make that easy. So let's start with these myths that I want to dispel today. These myths are just not true. Number one, women are not good at math. I know you're probably shaking your head like, can't believe it, but yeah, I know you've heard it somewhere along the way that women are not good at math, but that's absolutely not true. There's probably some math rock stars in this group. I like to consider myself one of them. I love math. Number two, men are better investors. Krista mentioned that earlier, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a later slide, but they aren't. Women are better investors, actually. Women cannot manage money. Actually, women are managing money better and more often than historically. So women are wonderful at managing money, and they're taking advantage of the tools and opportunities. So that's a myth. Women are overspenders. And I have the little icon. It's a picture of my chai tea latte, like I like to drink. And you've probably all heard that if you would just not drink a Starbucks latte every day, you'd be a millionaire, right? That was the first question that I started with today. How to be a millionaire? Just don't drink that latte every day. Save that $5. Well, mathematically, no, that's not going to work. But also, I have a very different way to approach the latte conversation. I believe if the caffeine from your latte is going to fuel you with energy so that you can do the work that you need to do, to achieve your goals, then drink the latte. And also, if you drink that latte and it fills your heart with a little bit of joy, a little bit of warmth, a little hug to help you make you through your day, then drink that latte. So I love to turn that conversation on its head. Women are not good savers, also a myth that we dispel every day through real data and statistics. Women are not interested in investing. Well, we're dispelling that myth right here by having you listen to this presentation. So that's just not true. And finally, women are too risk averse. That's not true. Now, I would say women are risk aware. And by that, I mean women like to understand investments and understand what they're doing before they make those choices and before they make that leap. And so sometimes if that's interpreted as being risk averse, that's not true. They're willing to take the risk, but they want to understand it and be knowledgeable about it before making that leap. So those are some myths, 7 of them that we just dispelled. Now, social media, you've probably all seen on TikTok and Instagram and all over social media, all kinds of different things regarding finance, personal finance, investments. And so I wanted to talk about them a little bit. Finfluencers, which is an abbreviation of financial influencers. They're all over the place telling us all kinds of great information and poor information. And I want to caution you with finfluencers about some of that. They have great stories. Some of them are personal stories of how they've found success. But where my caution comes from is, are they qualified to share information with you? Are they qualified to give you advice? They might be qualified to share their story, but when they move into the area of sharing advice, then I get a little bit cautious, and I hope that you would be a little bit cautious too. And so if you're following folks on social media regarding investments and finances, make sure that they're qualified to give that advice. Girl math is something that you've maybe heard a lot about. I just was shopping for a birthday card for my husband recently, and it said anything that you spend in your birthday month doesn't count. That's a great example of girl math. And girl math can go both ways, right? It can be something that's kind of funny, like that example that I just shared, but it can also be very detrimental and ugly when shared inappropriately. So girl math is an interesting conversation, I think, amongst girlfriends when you're kind of joking. It can be fun, but you need to be careful when you're talking about girl math. Loud budgeting is one of those new topics that I actually like very much. And what loud budgeting is people saying on social media, I'm not going to spend money on X this month. And it's them putting it out there to their friends and connections as their way of getting everybody else to hold them accountable. It's called loud budgeting. And so I like that. Do whatever it is you need to do to keep yourself accountable so that you can achieve those goals in the future. Now, the little flower that I have here, the center of it, 82 cents. That's how much women earn on average compared to men. That's the gender wage gap. And you can see the flower petals all the way around. For example, 52 cents for Hispanic and Latina women. That's the gender wage gap based on different demographics. Well, unfortunately, the gender wage gap can get wider and wider into what we call the gender wealth gap when you layer on different things like the pink tax, right? If we're only making 82 cents on the dollar, and then we have to pay more for a pink razor than a blue razor, we've now even reduced our wealth in the future. Sometimes we take time off to raise our children or to take care of our elderly parents. So we're not able to contribute to workplace retirement plans, or we're not able to contribute to Social Security, or maybe we have to take money out of savings. Again, reducing our future wealth, and it's making that gap wider and wider and wider. That's the gender wealth gap. And so I just want to talk about how we can close the gap because we have a lot of things working against us. So number one, I want you to be proactive. Get smarter every day because empowered women empower women. Advocate for yourself. Fight for what you want and need. I just had a meeting with a mentee who is a young professional in the area who was having some trouble at work. And, that was the conversation that I had, was that she had to advocate for herself, communicate to her employer what she wanted and needed. Now, whether she gets it, that's to be determined, but you have to advocate for yourself to begin with. Have candid money conversations. For example, if I have the same job as my male counterpart, and we never have a conversation about what is your salary, what is my salary, then I could be making that 82 cents on a dollar and not even know it. But if I have that conversation and I realize I'm making that 82 cents on the dollar, for example, as that gender pay gap, then I can go back to number one and advocate for myself and say, I deserve more. And then I can increase my salary in that way. So having those candid money conversations are a part of advocating for yourself, but also communicating with others and sharing the knowledge that you have. Share the information that you learned today with your friends. Don't just save, invest. I can't tell you how many times I've had prospects and clients come to me and say, Stacy, I don't know why my account isn't growing. And I look at it and I say, well, it's still in cash. It was never invested. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the retirement section. But when you put money into an account, you have to then log into the account and invest it. Protect what you already have. So it's really important that you have insurance to protect things so that what you do have saved, you're not spending to cover. For example, if your car breaks down, you want to make sure that you have insurance to be able to take care of that, because buying a new car is probably not something that's affordable for you. So protect what you already have through estate planning, with insurance, by having an emergency fund. It's really important that you protect what you already have. And maximize contributions to your retirement plan every year. We're going to dig into that in the retirement section. So like I said, talk to your mothers, daughters, sisters, grandmothers, and girlfriends about money. Most people like to talk about sex and religion and politics before they talk about money, but it's really important, and I hope I've given some examples why you should do that. Now, let's talk about workplace retirement plans. You all are professional women, so you have some version, I hope, of a workplace retirement plan. If you don't, I'm going to provide some solutions for you. You heard of the pension probably. The industry calls that the defined benefit plan. That's when you retire and you get an annuity. You get, paid continuously even after you stop working. Those are kind of going by the wayside at this point because they're very expensive for the employers. And they're shifting to the defined contribution plans, which are the 401ks and those kind of programs, because that shifts the risk from the employer to the employee, right? You have to take money from your paycheck and put it aside. It's your responsibility to save enough. It's your responsibility to choose the investments. So all of that risk shifts from them to you. So it's really important that you understand these plans and understand how you're investing in them. So for entrepreneurs and small businesses, I bet a lot of you on this presentation are entrepreneurs and small businesses. If you don't have a workplace retirement plan, you still can. There's SEP IRAs and simple IRAs and individual Ks and solo 401ks. Those are all available, whether you're a single person employed by yourself, or if you have a small business with a few employees. Those are all options that allow you to continue to invest towards your retirement. Individual retirement accounts not related to workplace include traditional IRA, which most people just call IRA, a Roth IRA, which is you put already taxed money into a Roth IRA. And when you pull it out in retirement, it's tax-free. In the traditional IRA, it's can be tax deductible in the present, and then you pay taxes in the end when you pull it out. I have highlighted here spousal IRA because this is something that very few people know and understand, and it is a wonderful opportunity for those that take time off of work. Again, those caretakers that are raising their children or taking care of senior parents, for example. A spousal IRA allows you to allows your spouse to contribute into your IRA when you're not working. Normally, the requirement to contribute into an IRA is earned income. But those years when you don't have earned income, your spouse can still contribute into your spousal IRA and allow you to continue to work towards your future financial security. And then the backdoor Roth IRA is something that you've maybe heard about. It sounds very exciting. It's a little bit complicated and definitely requires a financial advisor and an accountant to help you facilitate it. Lots of rules, but I'm going to oversimplify it by saying you contribute money into a traditional IRA, either tax deductible or pre-tax. And then you pay tax on it and you move it into a Roth IRA so that you can then have it be tax-free in retirement. Lots of rules, lots of explanations in there that I don't have time to go through today. But if that's something that you're interested in, you need to speak to your advisor or your accountant about that. Now, I mentioned earlier, we've got all these retirement accounts. They're like a bank account. You put your money in, but then you need to go the additional step and invest in these accounts. And also with your brokerage accounts, in your taxable accounts, same thing. You put the money in and then you must invest. Well, the number one term that I think is very misunderstood, but very important is compound interest. You've maybe heard of making money while you sleep. This is what they're talking about, compound interest. It's the eighth wonder of the world, according to Albert Einstein. She who understands it earns it, and she who doesn't pays it. So that's the flip side of compound interest. If you understand it, you're earning it, right? You're investing, you're saving, and you're earning that interest. But if you don't understand it, then you probably have this mountain of debt, credit card debt, other kinds of debt, where you're paying interest on top of interest instead of earning interest on top of interest. So really important topic that if you don't understand it, you can get yourself in a mountain of trouble. When women invest, they outperform men. I told you earlier that they do. Well, statistics show that women earn almost 1% more, or their return is almost 1% more per year. And again, using that compounding, year over year over year, women earning 1% more, that can help close that gender wealth gap that I talked about. The reason that is been found is because, again, that awareness, right? Remember, women are not risk averse, but they're risk aware. So they take the time to make those investment decisions, and then they hold those investments long term. And so that's the explanation that most studies have shown why women are outperforming men. So some different kinds of investment assets. These are all things that you can put in your retirement accounts, your brokerage accounts, but these are all different kinds of investments. Of course, you're familiar with stocks, Apple stock, Amazon stock, mutual funds and ETFs. Those are pooled investments, meaning let's take the S&P 500, for example. If you took all 500 stocks and you put it in a bowl of soup, and then you took a spoon and you got a little spoonful of all the 500, that would be your little piece of a mutual fund and a little piece of the ETF. The ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. And generally speaking, ETFs are less expensive to you, the investor. And ETFs trade minute by minute during the day, whereas mutual funds only trade once a day. So bonds are fixed income. You know what real estate is. Commodities like gold and cotton are different kinds of assets. Cryptocurrency, if you like Bitcoin, that falls in that category. There are insurance products like annuities. Those are considered investments. Then you have private investments, like when you invest in a business. And then, of course, there's collectibles like your stamp collection. I just got the new manatee stamps that came out, because who doesn't love manatees that lives in Tampa Bay? So all kinds of collectibles as well. Now, I know a lot of people really interested in ESG, and I wonder if you know what that is. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. Now, it's a wonderful idea in theory, but unfortunately, the data doesn't support a lot of it, because it's hard to manage. It's hard to know what the companies are actually doing. So you can try and have an ESG portfolio, a portfolio that's sustainable, but you don't really know what the companies are doing, and you don't really know what's going on. It's not regulated, it's not managed. So I just caution you there. I have a lot of clients that want to have an ESG portfolio, but it's hard to do with reality and with truth. And so I just caution everybody to say that. Of course, I want to have a sustainable portfolio. One kind of portfolio that or one kind of mutual fund, for example, is they only invest in companies where women are CEOs. Heck yes, I want to invest in that. But does it perform as well? Would I rather perform not as well? You have to take into consideration so many other things. So I put that out there as an explanation, but also a little bit of caution with that as well. Now, when I have clients, I don't just do investments. I don't just do retirement. I do all of the financial planning, because if one area goes awry, it can derail all these other areas. So it's really important for me that we do this comprehensive financial plan. I like the strategic outlook, cash flow and budgeting, debt management. You can see all these different choices. We're talking about making an impact, and there's nothing more profound in making an impact than having that charitable giving and philanthropy conversation. That's one of my favorite conversations to have with clients, is if they have the opportunity to make those philanthropy type decisions. But these are all decisions, because it's not one or the other. Someone will approach me like, I need to pay off debt, but I also want to save for an emergency fund, and I also need to save for retirement. There's so many balls in the air, and so you have to kind of figure out how and when to do what. But taking action on your financial journey can be your #1 source of confidence when money is your #1 source of stress. So I hope that you've learned some things that you'll take away from today. However, the investment advice that I gave you today is not personalized for you. It's just for educational purposes. Got to include that disclaimer. So I told you that I would help find help. The one thing that I want you to take away from today is this word, fiduciary. A fiduciary is someone who must, by law, do what's in your best interest. That is such an important term. It's actually one of the 10 questions that you should ask every financial advisor when you interview them. Are they a fiduciary? If you have any interest in seeing the 10 questions that you should ask every financial advisor and my answers to each of them, please shoot me an email and I'd be happy to share that list with you. It includes lots of great information to help you find a trustworthy and transparent advisor. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. This is a QR code that you can scan. You go to my website, find my socials there. I do blogs. I do this kind of presentation in your workplace if that's of interest. But I'm really happy to have been a part of this presentation today. And Krista, again, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Stacey, thank you for diving into such an important concept that I know all the women listening are gaining so much from. I'm going to go through some notes and a couple questions for you. So, first, you said, do you want to be a millionaire and do you know the steps to getting there? So, we have a responsibility to ourselves to own our own financial security. And we overcame some myths today, such as women are not good at math, that we're not good investors, women can't manage money, that we're overspenders and aren't savers, that we're not interested in investing, and women are too risk adverse. So we've overcome these myths. And also, it's important to be aware of social media, right? Make sure that the information that we're taking in is from a trusted advisor. So beware of just finfluencers or the girl math. However, loud budgeting can be a good way of being held accountable for certain budgeting online. And the gender wealth gap you shared with us. So women earn on average 82 cents for every dollar that a man earns. And so when it comes to closing the gap, we want empowered women to be proactive because empowered women empower women. Have candid money conversations. Don't just say invest because cash doesn't actually make money. So take your money and actually invest it. Protect what you already have, for example, with insurance, and maximize contributions to retirement plans every year. And then you shared with us some retirement plans, and thanks for going through all this terminology with us. For example, a pension is going to be a defined benefit, defined contributions, or things like 401k, 403b. A defined contribution for entrepreneurs include things like SEP, simple IRA, individual K, and solo 401k. You talked about individual retirement accounts such as an IRA, Roth IRA, spousal IRA, and then the backdoor Roth IRA. Now, when it comes to investing basics, compound interest is really the key terminology here. And I love that you said, she who understands it earns it. So earn interest on top of interest instead of paying interest on top of interest. So that's that is the game changer when it comes to investing. When women invest, they outperform men, earn 1% more than men each year with investments. If we look at assets, that's things like stocks, mutual funds and ETFs, bonds, real estate, gold, commodities, crypto, etc. And ESG is environmental, social, and governance. And you gave us, good awareness around the concept that the data doesn't necessarily support these being the best investment. So just being open to investing in great companies, but also be sure to look at the return. With financial planning, in addition to investing, looking at things like cash flow and budget, debt management, risk management, insurance, health and medical, tax planning, estate planning, college, charitable, as well as employee benefits. And taking action is the number one source of action. Find help from a fiduciary. They must, by law, do what is in the best interest of you. Thank you so much, Stacey, for sharing this with us. A couple questions for you. Now, I know certainly that this information was not personalized to the individual, and it will always be based upon the individual, which is why you do such great work one-on-one with clients. But if you had to advise an entrepreneur who owns her own business, she's not getting retirement plan from employee benefits, what would you do with your portfolio as an entrepreneur?
So thank you, Krista, for that question. I talked about the different plans that you can choose from, the SEP IRA, the simple IRA, and the individual 401k, also called the solo 401k. So I would definitely consider those programs to invest in your future financial security. And the way that you balance them, again, this is a conversation to have with an advisor and with your tax accountant. Because some of them allow you to contribute more. Some of them allow the business to make the contribution as well as the employee to make the contribution. There's lots of different factors in there, but every entrepreneur and small business that comes to me, that's really one of the first conversations that I have is let's make sure that you're continuing to invest in your retirement, in your future financial security.
Wonderful. And as an entrepreneur, it's also easy to get caught in the terminology and the thought process of I'm investing back into my business, which means everything goes back into the business. At certain points with growth, you need to invest in your company, of course, for, leverage and moving forward. But what would you tell the entrepreneur who's been investing into their business instead of their retirement and their future? What percentage on average would you recommend per month putting towards your retirement savings?
So for the entrepreneurs that have a workplace retirement plan, I always say first, if there's matching, do at least the matching. And that's usually often around 5%. Maybe it's 3%, maybe it's 6%, but I say start there. If you can do 10%, do 10%. If you can do more, do more. What this is an investment in your future self. And so there's no better investment in the world than in your future self. And I can tell you your future self is saying, yes, please. So, it depends. Again, there's this big picture. Are you balancing debt that you're paying off? Do you have an emergency fund first? What do your family expenses look like? All these kinds of things. So we kind of balance all of that. But I start with, is there matching opportunity? Start with that. If we can do 10%, let's do 10%. If we can't, can we cut something else here? But absolutely invest in yourself first and make it a priority. Don't look at the end of the month and say, well, is there any left to give to myself? Don't do it that way. Invest in yourself first, because then you'll figure all the rest of it out later.
Beautiful. Invest in yourself first. Such important advice here today. And another question here, as you've been growing your business, what would you say is the number one piece of advice that you would give to another female as she's trying to reach the next level in her career?
That's a good question. I think having those conversations, those money conversations, those professional conversations, those dialogues. I know I just launched this business recently, and as a part of my program, while I was waiting for the regulators to approve my firm, I was having conversations with other women to see, was my business plan, my business model that I had up in here, was that going to resonate with my target demographic? And so it's just having those conversations. And sometimes the answer was no, Stacy, that doesn't resonate. And so I could change my trajectory before I got too far along. So I talked about having those money conversations and how impactful that can be. But I think professionally, aside from even the money conversations, it's just having a dialogue with women who have been there and done it before, women who are your target demographic that can maybe say, that doesn't resonate with me, and be able to accept that feedback and make changes to help you grow yourself professionally.
Wonderful. So have those important money conversations and then reach out to other females, especially mentors who have been there in your place before. And I know you shared with us an amazing QR code where we can go and grab a great free gift. Can you remind us where we can follow you and learn more?
Sure. My firm is called Bayview Financial Planning. I'm at bayviewfp.com, and I'm all over social as well. I'm in Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And you can schedule a call through there. You can follow me on social. I have a newsletter that you can connect me on the website, and I'm happy to share all that information.
Thank you. And as we wrap up another great session here on the Empowerment Blueprint, a virtual summit for women in business, we'd like to acknowledge Stacy for sharing her expertise with us today. We'd also like to acknowledge you and to extend to you, our viewer, our gratitude for being a member of the Tampa Bay Women's Professional Network. Be sure to get on-demand access to watch the Summit Masterclasses on your own time and for full implementation to take your career to the next level. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next masterclass of the Empowerment Blueprint, a virtual summit for women in business.